Hello everyone, today I'm going to be covering, as you can probably tell from the title, this book written this year called How to Study Chess on Your Own. And I think this question of how to get better at chess, it's something that kind of presses every chess player at some point if they have any kind of ambitions to get better at the game. Like, I don't think there are many people who start playing some sort of competitive chess and then they just kind of say, I'm okay with the level I'm at. Most people, I believe, really have this innate desire to get better at the game. And I think this recent book published by Nuanced and written by Grandmaster Davorin Kuljasevic, this really aims to kind of fill this gap in the market where we have a lot of books discussing various topics like some topical opening lines, all sorts of middle game books, but we don't really have many books discussing how to utilize all these resources that we have at our disposal and ultimately utilize them to create like a coherent study plan, one that can really stick to and over time make long-term rating gains or whatever your ultimate goal is with chess improvement. And in my view, this book really aims to just bring more clarity to the way one kind of approaches their chess studies, because very often it's like, I feel like people like deep down somewhere like kind of understand what their weaknesses are, like what kind of things they should be studying, like they should probably be doing some sort of tactics, like reading books and stuff. But very often it's kind of a bit overwhelming because it's like, it's not like we just have one weakness in our chess. It's like we have this weakness, we have this weakness, and it's kind of difficult to try and wrap our heads all around that and try and pick out the things we should really focus on and then kind of bring that all together. And what this kind of results in is, in kind of the long term, we have a lot of people who they have some sort of desire to get better at the game, but often chess isn't their profession, they have other stuff going on in their life. It's kind of understandably difficult to fit chess into the context of all that. But what the problem is here is that they have this desire to get better, and they're like, okay, I'm going to do these things to get better, but because they don't have very clear ideas on what exactly they're going to do to reach their side goal, and they're not even sure exactly what it exactly is they want to accomplish with their training, often people feel rather unsure about their own training plan, and they'll kind of do things half-assedly and be rather inconsistent, which in the long term, of course, might lead to some results, but it's probably going to be rather minimal at best. And kind of along that note, one of the things I really appreciated about this book is that it was pretty BS free, I guess. Like, the author's not kind of glorifying things, saying if you just spend like 1 hour a week like doing tactics or something, you'll reach X level or something. He's just straight up. He's like, if you want to get better, you need to really spend some like good quality study time, and a lot of it over the long term if you want to reach your goals. And I think looking back when I was like younger, even though I didn't really have any idea what the hell I was doing, one reason that I really kind of improved very quickly when I was like 12 years old or something, I had like, my first rating was like 800, and then within 3 months I got to 1500. And although that was partially to do with the fact my rating was provisional because I hadn't played that many games, and I was just really underrated, I do genuinely believe I improved a lot during those 3 months. And well, the reason was I was just starting to spend a lot more time around chess at that time. I was playing more tournaments, I was playing online a bit more, although I don't think playing online was a big thing for me at the time. And I was doing a lot of online tactics as well. That was a pretty big thing for me. And although there was a lot of wisdom in the text in general that I felt was very helpful, a lot of the examples that Kuljasevic gave to kind of consolidate what he was saying was really useful in my opinion. For example, when he was explaining some of the study methods in the second chapter, I believe, one of them was deep analysis, which is basically just what it sounds like. It's just trying to analyze a position deeply, just kind of focusing on the position as much as you can. And he used this example that I'm going to load up here, where I think it was Artemiev that had the black pieces, and I'm not sure who the person playing white was. But he had this position where he had the rook and knight with 2 pawns against 3 pawns, all the pawns being on one side. And in the game I think Artemiev, he won without much resistance, but Kuljasevic, he wasn't satisfied with this. He felt that, sorry, did I say white won easily? If I didn't say black, that's what I meant. But he felt the white could have put up more resistance than he did in the game, and ultimately this kind of led to him trying to search for an answer. He went to Dvoretsky's endgame manual to try and see if there were some answers there as to kind of what the evaluation of this endgame is, what resources the white could have had at his disposal. And Dvoretsky had a similar endgame to this there, except instead of the knight, there was bishop. So he had to look elsewhere, and what he decided to do was he used this feature in ChessBase with databases that you can use, which is, I think the feature's called like similar endgames, where you can look at endgames with a similar material balance to this. And he ended up finding a position that looked remarkably similar with reverse colors, and it's this one, except this time it's white that has the extra piece, and white already has the pawn fixed on h4 like this. And he gave some really long analysis, which I'm not going to repeat here. And it's really interesting stuff to see how like thorough he was with really trying to get to the truth of these positions. And this is stuff that like I hadn't really thought of doing before myself, really delving deep into like some of the features that ChessBase offers. And that segues well into another thing that I found really insightful in this book, which was distinguishing between kind of solving positions and doing analytical work. And I felt that was really kind of just instructive, because very often, well, I mean, for me, like all the way up until like 2200 FIDE, what I've basically been doing is some combination of playing tournaments, like playing online blitz, solving positions out of books like Argod's GM Prep, and reading some books. But I was missing this kind of fifth component, I guess you could say, of like, well, let's not say there's just 5 components, there's definitely a lot more, I guess you could say, which was doing analytical work, like just getting a game, just going through start for end, like without a book, and just trying to get to really the heart of things, and just testing your own like capacity for just coming up with ideas in like all sorts of different positions. And this is something which I never really tried to do myself, but I have been doing it a bit more now since I've gotten the book. Like one of the things which he proposes and is a strong advocate of is this thing called simulations, which is basically where you try to find some high level game, maybe of a player that you want to try and emulate the style of. Like let's say you want to become a better attacking player, then Michal Tal is a great role model for you. You could find some of his games in the database, and you could try and do a simulation of them, where you start from move 1. Okay, some of the opening moves you can probably skip, since I mean that's up to the player's preference really, but after you kind of get the real first like 10 moves out of the way, you can start trying to really think like, okay, what's going on here, what plan will I play here and whatnot. And I think this is something which is really different from just solving, because solving, it's like you have this position and it's like you need to find the best move here, but during the game it's like you're not having someone just tell you, oh, you have some good move in this position, try and find it now. You're always in this constant state of, do I have something here, I'm not sure. And doing a simulation really kind of helps you, well, simulate the real tournament experience. I think this is something really that could be beneficial in my own training. I'm going to try and implement it more. And along similar lines, something I felt really useful in Kuljasevic's book was just that he wasn't black and white in the way he proposed things and his general ideas about how to study chess. I felt he was quite nuanced a lot of the time. For example, I thought one thing that really stuck out to me was in regards to like getting better like tactics and stuff. He's not like just go on chess.com and do more tactics. Easy. I feel like a lot of people have that kind of approach, but eventually you're going to hit this brick wall where it's like maybe your calculation will get really good, But that's just one aspect of tactics. What you're really missing is, because as I was just saying, there's like a difference between solving and like analyzing positions. But if you really kind of immerse yourself into this sort of more dynamic chess, which you could expose yourself through doing like simulations of tiles games or going through like books like Beyond Material, for example, great book, you really kind of just get more comfortable playing these sort of like very dynamic positions where there's no like immediate tactics. And that's a very important thing, because it's like one thing to be in a position where you have a tactic, and it's another to be able to reach the position in which you have that tactic and are then able to exploit that opportunity. And as you can probably tell to some extent, like I felt that Kuljasevic had this strong emphasis on going out of your way to look through databases and stuff to find like your own materials, not just relying on books that have already been written with games for you. And I found this really interesting, and something which definitely in the back of my mind, it's like maybe I should do this, but kind of this book, it's kind of given me that extra push, being to be like, dude, you should probably do this. It's like good for your chess. And I think this kind of relates to who do I think this book is really for, because like up until like this level, it's like, as I was saying like earlier, it's like a lot of this stuff I haven't really done before. I've never really worked thoroughly with databases, like scouring through a bunch of games trying to find some like really like cool ideas or instructive games that illustrate some like strategic idea like really clearly or something. Like I've always more or less just relied on books that have already been written to kind of like do that work for me, and then I just kind of absorb that information. And that kind of begs the question, it's like, well, if you're not even near the level like I'm at, maybe like 1600, 1800, like 1000, I don't know, like, is it worth getting this book? And the answer to that is, I believe that probably you should be at least 1500 over the board rating, because well, one reason is that in Kuljasevic's book, like in where he like sorts out like kind of what he believes certain like people of a certain level should be focusing on, he actually starts from like 1500 to 1800 and says like, okay, this is intermediate level, and then like 1800 to 2100, and he has some similar categories to like that go a bit higher. And yeah, I'm not necessarily saying though that that means people below that can't like get anything out of the book, but I think in general it's like if you're below that 1500 rating, it's like a lot of what you need to do to get better at is just stop blundering and start being able to recognize like elementary tactical patterns. Until you reach that level where you're able to do those things, it's like no matter how much like opening knowledge you have, how many like theoretical endgames you have looked at, it's like you're really just not going to be able to surpass that level. And but nevertheless, I think that if you're really set on getting this book and you're really interested on some of the contents, maybe some of the stuff I said in this review, it sounds interesting to you, then by all means go ahead and get the book. I'm sure that there will be something instructive in there for you. But I believe that, at least from my experience, what I did to get like above 1600, like of course I was a junior at the time. If you're not a junior, your experience might be a bit different, but I still believe that really what you need to do is you need to get experienced playing chess. It's like you can't just read books and expect to get better. Sure, it might help a bit, but really getting practical experience is going to be what helps you. It's like you're going to need to be in game situations where you need to find some tactics to win. You need to just stop blundering, because like no matter how many like books you read, in the end of the day, it's not going to prevent you from just like hanging a piece straight. It's like it's just not going to work that way. But anyways, I hope that you all found this book review helpful, and that if you like this type of content, you'd be able to leave a like below and subscribe to the channel. Anyways, see you.